galaxy is burning. Brother fights brother, and treason splits the Imperium of Man. This is the Age of Darkness. Welcome to the Remembrancers retreat, coming to you from within the depths of the Vengeful Spirit.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Remembrancers Retreat, a Warhammer 30k Horus Heresy podcast. My name is Jesse. I'm here today with Caro.
Hi.
And Jason.
What's going on, kids?
Yep, so it is just a few more days before the official release of Horus Heresy 2.0. We're all stoked. We're all excited. We've seen bits and pieces here on the internet and are looking forward to getting into this new edition. I'm really excited.
I can tell. I can absolutely tell. We have a gigantic poster. We have so many things ready. I have the feeling you're going to throw off your shirt the second everything is finally able to be purchased and arrive after the pre-order date. It's just always way too late. So see, Jason, are you ready for it?
Absolutely. I've been assembling chunky Marines for a while now. It's good times. Figuring out my purple, juicy purple scheme for my Emperor's Children. Still amazed at how they went from kind of lackluster in Horus Heresy 1.0 to pretty over-the-top amazing in 2.0. And I'm happy that I decided on them before the rules came out, so nobody can say I'm bandwagoning.
Well, now I don't have an excuse when I lose all those games anymore. Damn it.
You ready to break into playing again, Caro?
Hopefully. I had a really long break, and I still have a Fulgrim model I should take care of, but hopefully a few games with the new rules will put some fire under the artist's heart. We'll see. We'll see.
Yep, so today someone had posted some images of the next upcoming White Dwarf, and that's going to be the new Zone Mortalis in Horus Heresy 2.0, and I think I'd like to talk about it.
Yeah, see, new and exclusive.
Absolutely.
In the latest White Dwarf, they now have official Horus Heresy 2.0 Zone Mortalis rules, and I'd taken a bit of a brief overview of it, and the cool thing is that if you know a little bit about 2.0, we have reactions and things, and the reactions are pretty aggressive in Horus Heresy. But for Zone Mortalis, they have their own specific Zone Mortalis reactions, which I thought was kind of neat. We'll get into those here in a little bit. So the first thing that they show us is preparing for battle in the Zone Mortalis. And they show different table sizes, ranging from as small as up to 500 points on a 2x2 to 2,000 to 3,000 points on a 4x6 standard Zone Mortalis table.
Okay, I really like that already.
Yeah. And see a 3x3, which I don't think I've ever seen a 3x3 in a Games Workshop table size before, but I'm down for it. But the nice thing is with the 2x2, actually plastic tiles, that one set of plastic Zone Mortalis tiles, I can actually run a Zone Mortalis game on them.
You know, it's also nice because 500 points are not going to be a lot, so a smaller tile just makes it all still feel extremely engaging. You don't have the problem where one army is stuck on the other one half of the table. Mm-hmm. They just can run over and stab each other immediately, or shoot each other, depending on what your jig is.
Yeah, I imagine that'd make for a very, very quick game.
Mm-hmm.
Considering everything is so much faster now, like running is more consistent, Marines have slightly faster base movement. Mm-hmm. What's really going to be entertaining is things like, jump pack assault squads, or even, folks who went all out and took like bikes and jet bikes and stuff in Zone Mortalis, just like floor the pedal. Because now you have to worry about some pretty vicious, difficult and dangerous terrain tests.
Yep. Because you're no longer making that armor save. If you fail dangerous terrain, you're just removing models off the board.
Which I love so much. I mean, I think I'm a little bit spoiled. I'm used to it because I'm used to like the hyper lethal difficult terrain from like fantasy. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it makes such a it makes terrain like an actual obstacle now. It's not just open or impassable. It really makes you think, like, yeah, I could, land my jetpack dudes up here and get like a really good charge set up, but I might start, because, before you'd get your armor save and feel no pain if you rolled a 1. And I mean, that's every so often, you'd fail one and it'd do something funny. Like, 2 Terminators would like trip and break their ankles, like going through a starship bulkhead. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it didn't really seem to be that thematic, which is weird because, in all the books and everything, you hear about like all the hyper lethal, like magma vents and like acidic, spore towers on like alien planets and stuff. Mm-hmm. And now it feels a lot more lethal. I think it's in a lot better place now.
And also, no risk, no fun. If you always have it safe, it's just, I don't know. I enjoy the thrill of what actually happens. Are my guys gonna survive, or will they all implode because they fell down a lava plate?
Yeah, so I know, especially here in Richmond, and I'm sure lots of other places too, Zone Mortalis is, one of the more commonly enjoyed modes of play that we have around here. So let's get into some of these extra rules that they have here. Starting off with the force selection. Looks like a lot of things have stayed mostly the same. No unit may include more than 15 models. This restriction only applies to individual units during army selection. And models with special rules such as the Apothecarian attachment that are assigned to units before the first turn, or with the independent character special rule that join units, may increase the number of models to greater than 15. Makes sense.
Yeah.
No units may select dedicated transports, so you can't go, run around with your Rhino down the corridor. No models with the Armiger and or vehicle unit types may be chosen. Well, that's interesting.
Oh.
Now we know that there is an Armiger unit type.
But it's not going to be helpful in Zone Mortalis, at least.
Yeah, and we've been kind of scratching our heads earlier thinking about what kind of unit types there will be for Mechanicum, especially Knights, because there are no Knights yet in 2.0.
Yeah.
And with the removal of Walkers as a unit type. Now there's Dreadnought, Automata, we were scratching our heads. Well, we know the smaller Knights, the Armigers, they have their own unit type, so we'll see what happens there.
I guess that sort of makes sense, because before they operated in kind of this weird little slower than a Knight, but faster than a Sentinel or a Dreadnought sort of space. Mm-hmm. And it was like they really had to kind of hodgepodge rules interactions together to get them to fit in that little spot. So I like that it sounds like they've just been like, to heck with that. Just Armiger's its own unit type, which I think makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Another rule I have is no models with the Dreadnought unit type or Automata unit type or the Monstrous unit subtype may be chosen if they have a wounds characteristic of 7 or more. That means you will not see Contemptor Dreadnoughts running around in Zone Mortalis.
I think that's a fair game. Like, yeah, I would not want to.
I thought Contemptors were 6.
I thought they were 7. No, you're right.
Leviathans?
So you won't be seeing Leviathans. Okay. Yeah, no
Leviathans. Ostensibly no Telemons.
True.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Or whatever Automata you have out there. Trying to think of some nasty ones.
I can't think of anything with more than 4. Like even the Thanatar has 4.
Well, it might be changed up in this edition, though.
Also, there might be monstrous units which have more wounds. We don't know what they're going to throw at us yet.
Yeah. Because right now the Mechanicum book is supposed to be coming out in August, so we'll see where that takes us.
Oh, I am excited for that. It would be wild if right out of the gate, like, Castellax had like 5 or 6 wounds. Because there are a lot more weapons that, what's the new rule? Brutal? Mm-hmm. That makes you take multiple wounds for every hit.
Mm-hmm.
So wow.
It would be a lot more. I don't know if it would be a balancing factor, but it would make them feel pretty chunky.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, especially if they maintain whatever armor save they have a 3-up in first edition, right?
Yeah, 3 up and then a 5 up adamantic shield like a Contemptor.
Ah, gross. But yeah, I can see that happening. At least 4 wounds. Also, no models with the anti-grav unit subtype may be chosen. I'm assuming that is speeders and maybe jet bikes.
Also, some of the teams which haven't played beforehand are not going to be possible anymore.
Yeah, I think some Zone Mortalis lists are going to have to shift up from the first edition.
Well, it always happens. But,
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
No.
So for Warlords, you do not select a Warlord trait in games with a maximum point limit of 500 or fewer. Which is, makes sense. I don't think they had that in the previous edition.
Did they have official 500-point games or rules? I
mean, ostensibly, you can really set the max to really anything, but...
Yeah, you could play a 20-points game if you want to.
Well, don't know if you really do that, but in here it does show a up to 500-point list. So.
See? You could still do 20 points. It's just, does it make sense? No, but you could.
Yeah. In games with points limits of 500 points or more, each Warlord has 1 trait chosen during army selection. And let's see, some special rules attached to certain army lists or models may allow a Warlord to select Warlord traits other than those presented in a core list. Such rules will specifically note whether other traits may be selected. Okay. And so reactions in Zone Mortalis. When you make a reaction during a Zone Mortalis battle, an army may not choose to use any of the core reactions or presented in Horus Heresy rulebook, nor any army list specific advanced reactions. Instead, all armies, regardless of faction, may only choose to use any or all of the Zone Mortalis reactions as presented in the supplement during a ZM battle, or any of the standard advanced reactions in the rulebook. So the advanced reactions in the rulebook, if I understand, are Death or Glory, which really makes not much sense, and the Intercept, which allows you to shoot at people who are coming in through deep strike or basically coming in from reserves and they're nearby. Another point to make here, in games with a total army size of 1,000 points or fewer, any player may make 1 reaction in each phase of their opponent's turn, and this number may not be increased in any way, regardless of any modification to a player's reaction allotment or special rules granting. Additional reactions, the reactive player may never make more than 1 reaction in any single phase.
Well, at least you're clear.
Which I think would help out with a lot of the Intercept, because Intercept, if you have an augury scanner, allows you to make an Intercept reaction without spending your allotment. And I think this kind of counteracts that. I could be reading that wrong, but I don't think so.
It's pretty... It says you can only 1, and 1 is capitalized. No, not capitalized.
Bold.
It's fat.
Bold.
Bold, not fat. Sorry. It's very bold. And in parentheses, there's even the number 1. So there's no way around. You can only do 1, even if you have special stuff, at least in the Zone Mortalis rules.
Yep. And they have the Mortalis Assault Force Organization, which is 1 HQ and 1 troop. And it looks like you get 5 troops extra. And everything else, you have up to 2 elites, 2 fast attack, a single heavy support, and a single Primarch. So enjoy that.
Make sure you pick your favorite Primarch.
All right, I'm not going to lie. I do love that they go beyond just clarification for the number of base reactions. And it's no circumstances may make more than 1, parentheses, the number 1 reaction in any single phase. Because I think they just get as tired as we do of hearing somebody saying well, it could be read or interpreted as... No. 1. 1 is 1.
And may not be increased in any way, regardless of any modifications.
1 and done.
Any more is not legal.
Yep. Regardless of modifications or special rules granting additional reactions. So there you go. That's all you get. But let's look at the Zone Mortalis reactions. Does anybody want to start off with them?
Yeah, Zone Mortalis reactions. During a Zone Mortalis battle, the following reactions are available to all armies regardless of maximum points limit or faction. These reactions are only available in Zone Mortalis battles. So just try to keep your rules straight, I guess. Reactions in the movement phase. During the movement phase, the reactive player may declare a reaction if an enemy unit ends a move within 12 inch and in line of sight of a friendly unit. Once the active player has completely resolved the movement of their unit, the reactive player may choose to expand their reaction in that phase in order to have the unit they control that is within 12 inch and in line of sight perform a suppress reaction. Suppress. The reacting unit may take a shooting attack, targeting the unit that triggered the reaction and following all the usual rules for shooting attacks. A unit that makes a shooting attack as part of a suppress action may not take any attacks indirectly, without line of sight. All shooting attacks made as part of a suppress reaction are snapshots, with the exceptions of template weapons. Note that this prevents models from making attacks with weapons that have the Blast X special rule as part of this reaction. Template weapons may only be used as part of a suppressed reaction if the target unit is within 8 inch, and must use the Wall of Death rule instead of firing normally. Models in the reaction unit count as stationary during the shooting attack, even if they moved in the previous movement phase.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have Will on the line.
Hey,
Will's
hello
here.
everybody.
So neat thing with suppress. So it's like return fire, except in Zone Mortalis, you are now making snapshots, which is kind of like a mirror from the first edition, where before you could make a check to fire at full ballistic skill. In a regular game of Horus Heresy, now when you return fire or Overwatch, you already do a full ballistic skill shot. So it's kind of interesting that they turned this now into snapshots as a reaction.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Because before it was an initiative check.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know what this Wall of Death rule is, because that sounds pretty cool.
So Wall of Death, when you have like a flamer weapon that uses the triangle template, instead of rolling to hit on 6s, you automatically create D3 wounds.
Nice. Yep.
As long as the enemy's within 8 inches of the charge.
Yeah. And that's per weapon, too.
Yep.
So if you have a full 10-man Flamer support squad in Zone Mortalis, they're very deadly, yeah. I've always enjoyed sprinkling in a couple of Flamers into like Breacher squads when I go to Zone Mortalis, just to dissuade anyone from breaching, or not breaching, but from assaulting, thinking that they're going to get in no problem,
Yeah, do not bug the breachers.
Like reverse breaching?
Yeah, I guess.
Is discouraged.
Yeah. Other way. So who wants to take reactions in the shooting phase? Looks like we got Displace.
Well, I can keep going.
Okay.
Then, reactions in the shooting phase. During the shooting phase, the reactive player may react when any enemy unit declares a shooting attack targeting a unit they control. Before the active player resolves the shooting attack, the reactive player may choose to extend their reaction in that phase to have the unit targeted by the shooting attack perform a displace reaction. Displace. Each model in the reacting unit may move a number of inches up to its unmodified initiative characteristic. When resolving the shooting attack that triggered this reaction, all range and line of sight is measured to the reacting unit's new position. If, as a result of this movement, no model in the reacting unit are within range or line of sight of any models in the triggering unit, the active player cannot choose a new target for the shooting attack. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, forcing your opponent to waste their shooting attack.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it
can be very nice, yeah.
You kind of potentially wasting your reaction, so you really have to watch out and be aware of what other things can be going on the table.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you have somebody just barely within range and shooting at you, you can just have them all take a step back or, I don't know, jump off the building if they feel like it. Mm-hmm. That could be fun.
I just see the opportunity here where, 4 inches for, typical initiative is going to be 4 inches, or 4 inches. You can peek around a corner into a long hallway where there might be somebody who's, trying to fire at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could use this to, displace yourself and get yourself out of that hallway of death if you're not able to clear it in time. Like maybe you move most of your units across, but you can't get all your guys out of the hallway. Well, you can use this displacement to get them the other half of the hallway, through. So you're out of that linear danger zone.
Yep.
I like it.
Or if there's some terrain or whatnot that you can find yourself and try to get in before to make some cover saves if needed.
Yeah, very good.
So that'd be something to think about when making tables, to have little bits here and there where people can kind of jump in.
Yeah, hopefully you'll see. Hopefully we will see more scatter terrain, little stuff like that in Zone Mortalis.
Yeah, especially with the change of the rules for dangerous terrain. That's going to be much more fun. Should I do the assault phase as well?
Yeah, reactions in the assault phase. Go for it.
Okay, reactions in the assault phase. The last of those reactions. During the assault phase, the reactive player may react when any enemy unit declares a charge targeting a unit they control. Before the active player has resolved any charge rules, the reactive player may choose to expend their reaction in that phase to have the unit targeted by the change perform a brace reaction. By the charge perform a brace reaction. Brace. The reacting unit must make a morale check. If the unit check is failed, the reacting unit immediately falls back 1d6 inch and automatically regroups when this fallback move is completed. If the check is successful, the reacting unit automatically passes any morale checks they are required to make as a result of losing an assault during the following fight sub-phase.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Could it not, if you brace and fail your morale check, could it not put you out of range of the guy who's trying to charge you?
Yep, because you're doing that before they make any charge rolls.
That could be really interesting.
I think that's all around a bonus, right?
Yeah, even if you don't do well on the morale check, you still fall back. And you still get something for it, so it's not like wasted.
And granted, this is a D6 instead of your initiative, so.
Yeah, so you can be lucky, you can have bad luck, but still.
Yeah, these reactions are pretty cool. I really like these.
And now you're saying that these reactions are the only ones you can use in Zone Mortalis? Is that what you were saying?
These replace the core reactions in the main rulebook. Minus the advanced reactions such as Intercept and Death of Glory, which you probably won't use in Zone Mortalis.
Right. Are you able to use your Legion-specific reactions still?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Only Zone Mortalis.
It's a very restrictive level of gameplay.
I like that. That's cool.
So for the terrain in Zone Mortalis, it mentions designations of ceilings and access points. So if you have a ceiling, you can't draw lines of sight over columns, walls, and closed doors, which are apparently mentioned in the rule book.
That's interesting that I think is a new one, since now we have the Necromunda Zone Mortalis stuff. Yeah.
And obviously this is for things like, you can't shoot artillery over a wall.
Right.
If it has a ceiling.
It's nice, too. That they designate that, because it allows you to have like a completely different feel. Because if you're in like an underground cavern or like a starship, breaching action, something like that is going to feel different than if you're in, say, like a super crowded like favela or like a really, densely packed city street
or a narrow canyon.
That's cool. It's just, yeah.
And it can be interesting if you have areas which have a ceiling and areas which do not have a ceiling.
Yeah, if the battlefield does not have a ceiling, models can draw line of sight over columns, walls, and closed doors.
Oh.
Which seems interesting. Well, over them, I guess. That makes sense.
Yeah, if
not
you're
through
standing
them.
higher.
That's a key point to make.
No extra vision yet.
Yeah, that does make sense, because if something is like supposed to be a catwalk that's overlooking something that isn't supposed to have a ceiling, then maybe you could shoot from the catwalk down to it. So designating the ceiling areas.
So then they have access points. When designating terrain features, each player has to designate at least one access point on each battlefield edge. And it's either a corridors and chambers area or an open door that is on the battlefield edge. And then moving through terrain, models cannot move vertically using the rules in the main rule book. However, ladders and stairways offer an alternative method for vertical movement in Zone Mortalis games. So I guess you're not climbing over walls. You have to take the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have a jump pack and are not afraid of ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Yep. And instead of the main terrain types, they have ZM games use following categories: corridors and chambers, platforms, Zone Mortalis terrain pieces, and hazardous terrain. So for corridors and chambers, it's pretty self-explanatory. They don't have any additional rules for corridors and chambers. It's just bare open door rooms and hallways, unless otherwise specified. And special rules and abilities that affect terrain do not affect corridors and chambers. There's the Zone Mortalis terrain pieces, which are apparently walls, doors, platforms, ladders, lifts, stairwells, basically any of the...
Necromunda kit.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They serve to shelter troops on the field of battle by means of their own bulk and design. So, when drawing line of sight, if a model is at least 25% obscured by a terrain piece, it is eligible for a cover save, which is discussed in page 174 of the main rule book. And by default, most Zone Mortalis terrain pieces are termed corridor debris, and unless otherwise stated, a model in cover behind corridor debris has a 6-up cover save. So,
interesting. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's still pretty deadly in there. A 6-up save isn't a lot.
It ain't much, but it's honest work.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah,
No, you're not.
it's not going to be a fun time when the guy with the plasma rifle comes around. They also have columns and walls, which they provide a 5-up cover save, unless otherwise noted. Models cannot move or draw a line of sight through columns or walls in a ZM battle. In addition, special rules, war gear, or other effects that affect models within a specified distance cannot affect a model if no straight line between the source of the effect and the affected model can be drawn without passing through a column, wall, or closed door. Makes sense. If you're in another room, you're not going to get the special bonuses for terrain pieces.
Makes sense, yeah. It is, okay, columns and walls. I was being so lightheaded. I don't know. I was thinking, like, what walls are there that you can get cover saves behind? But I'm just thinking, like, you can stand with a model 25% behind a wall, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the ZM kits, I think some of them do have, like, a...
little makeshift wall sort of things, right?
Yeah,
Trenches?
and I was thinking also like a ones with like a gun
waist-high walls.
Yeah, there's some waist-high walls. I think there's some with gun ports.
But I think
fire
those would
points.
then get classified as this, what is it, corridor debris. I really think columns and walls, the only things that are columns and walls are the literal columns and walls, right? Like when you build the Zone Mortalis, the big chunky one-by-one pieces that you put there.
Sturdy and impenetrable walls of a ship's interior or underhive tunnel network. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, we do. I just want to make that or that distinction between columns and walls versus things that look like they could be walls but are actually just debris.
Yeah,
or terrain pieces. I mean,
and I feel like the terrain pieces, for the most part, I guess some of it's going to be scattered, but it also does mention. Yeah, it still says walls, doors, platforms, ladders, lifts, and stairways. So I guess definitely have to make a distinction before playing a match.
this is a wall.
So we also have doors. If you're behind cover in a door, you get a 5-up cover save. And there are standard doors, which are roughly human-sized openings, such as access hatches and airlocks, and wide doors for any larger openings, such as loading docks or bay doors. There are 2 defined conditions. State and control. For state, a door can either be open or closed, and otherwise all doors begin in battle in the closed state, where models cannot move or draw a line of sight through a door, and distances cannot be measured through a closed door. Then there's the open state, where they do not block line of sight. Go ahead.
Weird. So hold on,
Yeah.
at all?
Yeah, so I guess you can only measure, I guess, from your model to whatever what they can see in the corridor.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I don't know, maybe, but to me anyways, in a long time, that's the first time I've ever seen like no pre-measuring for
restrictions on measuring stuff.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
Oh yeah, so you cannot, man.
So like you can't pre-measure and be like, all right, well, it's a total of 12 inches to that unit to charge, so I'm going to spend 3 of it to go up to the door, and then like you just have to be like, all right, well, I'm going to spend 3 inches to go up to this door, and then hopefully once I open it, I can then count the rest and find out how far I am.
Yeah, or you can open it, measure, and then just close it because it's not enough. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah. So they actually have finally dedicated restrictions on what can go through a door and what can't.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
So models with the Dreadnought, Cavalry, and or vehicle unit types may not move through standard size doors.
That's so much easier than being like, all right, if it's this, yeah.
Can I squeeze my model in? And models with the bulky X special rule with a value of 3 or greater may not move through standard doors. And models with 5 or more wounds may not move through standard doors at all.
This answers the question I had before where they're talking about standard doors are roughly human-sized openings. Space Marines are not human-sized. They're bigger. How
But they're
do they fit
roughly
through doors? They do.
Humans.
Are they like 3 meters tall?
I mean, a regular door is roughly human size, and I'm shorter than a regular door.
Yes, but again, well, first of all,
Space Marines are roughly 7 foot tall, I want to say, on average.
that doesn't help.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
3 meters tall. I don't know.
That's 9 feet.
2 meters tall, 2.5 meters tall.
Yeah,
They
see,
can duck their
2.5.
heads.
Aw. But I just want to have a Space Marine run full force into a door and just being stuck. It would be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly stated by those rules, they can fit through unless they're bulky.
Well,
So
we'll just make a new
jetpacks.
rule for miniature doors, and those are small doors that,
Little hatches.
only children or
Squats.
militias can go into.
And squats.
Children, squats, and Skaven.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the walls.
Ah.
Yep. So those are the states the door can be, and then there's ways to control them. So you have accessible, where they can be activated once per turn during the movement phase by a model controlled by the active player that moves into base contact with the door during normal movement. And then that player may choose to change the state of the door from closed to open or open to close at the moment the model moves into base contact. A model that is running or using a piece of war gear that allows them to set their movement may not activate doors. If the models in the unit have not yet moved their full movement distance for the turn, the active player may continue to move models in that unit. In effect, a unit may open a door in the middle of their movement and continue moving after it has been opened.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that makes more sense than stopping at the door
Yeah, the one
to
guy.
Yeah.
open it. Yeah.
One guy just, I got the door, guys. For a locked door begins the battle in the closed gate and cannot be opened by means other than destroying it.
So in theory, you could not hide a key because clearly you have to destroy it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, most of the games I've played, I know locked was always the easiest method because, obviously it makes more sense if it's attackers and defenders. The defenders would have, controlled doors and that kind of stuff where they can open and close them as they need. But yeah, I just always like locked because it slows everybody down equally.
Yeah.
And they do finally have a controlled. It mentions one player can be the basically owner of the doors, depending on your game style. Like if they're defending, all the doors are accessible in any way, open or closed, locked, unlocked towards that player.
Yeah, I like that a lot for narrative like defense missions or offense missions. It's good. Because then you can have, a little door controller set off in one room. And if you get to that, then, the attacking player can then take control of the doors. But so long as, the defending players have control of that, then they can control all the doors. Things like that, I think are pretty cool. Adds little, they're not like those kind of objectives aren't necessary to win the game, but it's definitely like a nice little objective that you can add into it to make it interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep. So on the next page, they have rules for interacting with the terrain and whatnot.
They have a really important one, which is called destroying doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, what is it? They are armor value 10. A standard door has 3 hull points, and a wide door has 6 hull points. However, penetrating hits inflicted on a Zone Mortalis door lose D3 hull points, and no roll is made for the building damage table. In addition, the door in Zone Mortalis reduction to 0 hull points. It does not suffer the total collapse rule. Listed, it just cannot be targeted again by a shooting attack.
Mm-hmm.
Charge or melee attacks in any phase is treated as in open state by all models for the remainder of the battle, regardless of which player controls the door. So doors are much stronger. They used to be, value 10 with 1 hull point?
Oh, I thought they were chunkier than that. I was about to say, I thought they were like AV 12, or maybe I'm going crazy.
Maybe 11. I don't know.
Because
right
now I'm like, I don't remember being able to blast doors open with bolters.
Yeah, neither. I think locally, anyways. Again, I feel like there were a lot of different eras of rules that people might have been kind of mixing about. For us, we did armor value 11, 1 hull point.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I have the rules for version 1 here. I was just taking a quick look, but if you want to go to the next one, I'll try to look for the old door rules.
What is it? Ladders and stairways.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, those are cool parts from the kits, the Necromunda stuff, so it's great we're seeing that in here now. When climbing between levels vertically, ladders and stairways, models use the rules for vertical movement. So it's very simple stuff there. Mm-hmm. Hazardous terrain. What is that? That looks like the area of hazard terrain does not offer or does not grant cover saves. Also note that hazardous terrain is neither difficult terrain nor dangerous terrain, and its effects are not mitigated by special rules or war gear that interact with those types of terrain.
Oh, so you better have something for hazardous terrain or whatever.
And I have the old door rules. We were both correct, Will. It was a single hull point for the door, but it was AV 13.
What? For a door?
Yeah.
Dang.
So now they've made it a bit more interesting. Like, you have to take more shots at it, but you can actually also break it open with your bolt guns and your chain swords.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think that's going to be so much easier. You're going to have so many shots to deal with it.
Yeah.
To take those out.
Mm-hmm.
So hazardous terrain is a new type of terrain, neither difficult nor dangerous. Moving into hazards, if a unit starts as movements inside of hazardous terrain and has a high enough movement characteristic to enter the hazardous terrain during the current movement phase, the player must declare that they want to try to either... It is as part of their movement phase... Hold on. This is all just typical movement garbage. 1 second. Let's get to the meat of it.
Moving within the terrain, huh?
So -2 to your movement to go in and out of it like your typical dangerous terrain or difficult terrain.
For the new edition now.
Yeah.
No more rolling a D6 and deciding, I'm going to just take a step closer to it.
Moving within hazardous, again, still a -2. So yeah, this is just looking like hazardous is a new terrain type instead of difficult or dangerous.
Yeah. Looks like they have a few more rules.
Yeah, you have charging through hazardous terrain. Again, you get a -2 to your charge distance. Running and falling back through hazardous terrain.
That's
you have to take a hazardous terrain test as soon as you enter or leave. Hazardous terrain test. To take a hazardous terrain test, roll a D6 on a 1. That model suffers a wound. No armor saves, cover saves, or damage mitigation rolls may be made against this roll.
Mm-hmm.
But invulnerable saves may be made.
Yep. So it basically turns into dangerous terrain if you're running or falling back into it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But what's interesting is that while shooting within the hazardous terrain, you have a -1 penalty, unless you have night vision or Primarch. So imagine it just as a very, very cloudy, misty area because
we've all seen Aliens where there's like constantly just different types of gases being exploded and floating through the air. I mean, that's very sci-fi-ish where there are things falling and getting in the way and blocking vision. So I get that, you know.
inexplicable chains from the ceiling. Maybe one light bulb and 4 works.
It's
exactly.
flickering.
In a spaceship, they're still using regular fluorescent light bulbs, and it's flickering.
Loud buzzing.
Oh, yeah. 14 crew people for a ship with 87 decks. Yeah.
And somehow
They got a hell of a backlog.
And somehow all those lights are still filled with bugs, even though
Not
there
a
are no
Roomba
bugs.
in sight. Not a Roomba in sight. Who's sweeping all 87 decks? I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty neat. A new terrain type specifically for Zone Mortalis. Because, I mean, how many times would you be like, is this difficult terrain or dangerous? I don't know. But it's like, stop it. We have our own terrain here. It's called Hazardous Terrain.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is hazardous, so watch out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty wild. Just have a true Zone Mortalis, just call everything Hazardous Terrain.
Being alive is a hazard.
I mean, when you're in a ship that is being shot from the outside, boarded from the inside, I think everything becomes hazardous, right?
I mean,
not necessarily.
I was thinking, like, now that movement is 7, losing 2 inches to 5 inches, that's still not terrible.
Yeah. It's not a crawl like it was before, where you're like, you get that mighty 1 inch, my man, good luck.
And are you going to be daring and try to rush ahead? Or, I'm liking this.
Yeah, as an example, Will, what I could imagine is your base at the beginning is not hazardous, but the second somebody blows up a door to the outside, to the elements, well, sure as hell, any area which is not doesn't have a closed door in between yourself and the outside, suddenly it's hazardous.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about like if like a vacuum happens, yeah.
If a vacuum happens, or even if it just if you blow up the door on Mars, even though there's not necessarily a vacuum, it's not going to be a good time.
So we have some core Zone Mortalis special rules, which these are added on to our basic special rules. What is this? Barrage weapon. Without having read this, I'm guessing that you can't use barrage weapons in Zone Mortalis. Let's see.
Cannot be fired indirectly.
Weapons with the barrage special rule cannot be used to make shooting attacks targeting models which they do not have line of sight, but may make shooting attacks at normal targeted models which they do have line of sight. Okay, so barrage weapons can be taken. You just gotta see who you're shooting.
You get to fire that thud gun down the hallway, but not over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of ceilings.
And I guess it also, it doesn't even mention ceilings there. Just a flat out.
Look, I'm just saying, if you fire something that is barrage, but you're under a ceiling, you should take some sort of self-damage, assuming that you did not cant your barrel properly.
No. I mean, they don't mention ceiling, but line of sight, if you are outside of your barrage weapon, it doesn't matter if in theory you could see, as long as the other building has a ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Objective markers in Zone Mortalis. Okay, so you have to have one model from a scoring unit to be in base contact with an objective marker in order to control it.
No longer have to be within a certain amount of inches.
Right, which makes so much more sense. If the battlefield is so much smaller, your scoring bubble should be smaller. Reserves, let's see, is there anything crazy here? Models held in reserves can only enter battle via designated acceptable points on the battlefield edge. We all know that. You always have your little airlocks that both teams can deploy reinforcements from. Models entering the battlefield from reserves must abide to all those restrictions. Which edge the models are able to enter from.
Yep, so that doesn't really have that hasn't changed much.
Deep Strike Assault. Now we know Deep Strike Assault is so good in this edition, but let's see what if the battlefield has a ceiling, models cannot arrive by a Deep Strike Assault. If the battlefield does not have a ceiling, units may deep strike using the Deep Strike Assault special or a core rule. What? How many? Oh my God.
That's kind of interesting.
Mike and Jared are going to lose it. They're going to lose it when they hear this. They're brand new, shiny right of war.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
You just gotta make sure that any terrain you have has an area without ceiling.
Deep Strike Assault is both jump pack entry, jetpack entry, and teleportation. I mean, I feel like teleportation assault should be its own thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. I haven't seen the other rules for teleportation. I wonder if maybe there's something there, but at the same time, I feel like
they chucked them into Deep Strike Assault. And I get that they want this rule because they don't want people jump packing in a bunch of assault marines through the ceiling,
However, I do know in like the earlier Zone Mortalis, it did mention, it specifically talks about, models that arrive through like teleportation.
You're right. Maybe that will be in here. Firestorm and Shrapnel. Attacks made with weapons with the blast or template rule gain +1 bonus to wound rolls they made in Zone Mortalis. Nice. In addition, if a battlefield has a ceiling, blast markers cannot scatter through columns, walls, or closed doors. If a scatter roll makes a blast marker center point into the contact with the bulkhead. So that's just like before, where you center the blast under the bulkhead, and then that's where it blows up at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So simulating the weapon just ricocheting and exploding on a wall. Nowhere to hide. Oh, Lord, this is always a bad one. At least it was in the last one, where you would just go away. You just disappear if you had nowhere to hide. In Zone Mortalis battles, Victorious Side and Assault adds +1 to their sweeping advance rolls by default. Like, you just get a +1 to your sweeping rolls. Contrary to the usual rules for falling back, immediately on falling back, a morale check, a unit's first fallback move is directly away from the enemy, and subsequent moves are toward the nearest access port. So you don't just disappear this time anymore, huh? But I mean, there's a higher chance you do because of the +1 sweep. But like if you pin a unit backs against a wall with no doors or anything, and your unit is in between it, I mean, guess what? You just back up. You try to fall back away from them as far as you can, but you're going to get charged again and then swept because you're falling back, right?
Oh, you still have to roll well for a sweeping, right?
Well, for a sweep, yes, but then the next turn, following this sweep, if they passed it and they don't get swept and they do fall back, what do they move an inch away from the enemy?
Yeah. I'll need to see what the new rules for regrouping are.
Right. I mean, all I'm saying is that this adds an extra step. It's the exact same thing, except now the other unit will have to charge you one more time to erase you, is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Blind Panic. If a model from a unit that is falling back ends its move or passes within 1 inch of a model from another friendly unit that is not falling back or pinned, that unit must immediately make a morale check. Fearless units are not subject to this. Oh.
Which, knowing that there are lower, leadership values in this game.
Wow, so you can just cause
a cascade of panic.
A cascade of being like, oh, God, run! Just a single dreadnought, kills a bunch of dudes, wins combat, the team falls back, and then they just cause a chain reaction of people falling back, all because of one dreadnought.
Yep.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just makes it's a very human thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of embarrassing if it happens to your Marines, but it could happen unless they're fearless. And at some point, if everybody else runs, do you really want to check what they're running from, or do you just look at?
I think we all know if we see a naked man running, screaming, run. Like if he's running towards us, screaming, run.
Turn around, run.
I guess he could not be naked too, usually. But if he's naked, you're going to take him a little bit more serious, I feel. You're going to run. I think you're going to run.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I'm going to try and run.
But yeah, so
that is
coming in White Dwarf.
It's good. I'll be definitely picking up this issue. I'd never buy White Dwarfs.
It's coming out this Saturday, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other type of stuff they'll come out for content for Heresy and White Dwarf. Because
look at that picture. It's some Dark Angels with melta-guns, and there's dead Castellax in front of them. They just shot that little bastard full of melta.
Yep, that was I recognize that. That was from book 6 too.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool because in book 6, the previous, there were only but so much Dark Angel stuff. So I was grabbing onto every little bit I could back then. But I think like the earlier picture in that book was like the Dark Angels like charging into a door, and then the second page you flip over, and that's like they just completely just destroy the automata.
That poor baby. That poor little man.
But yeah, I'm excited for this, and I'm excited to get all my
Did
stuff.
they say something else was coming in this edition or this
particular White Dwarf? I don't know.
Something heresy related, I thought.
No, I think this
was the big thing I remember hearing about. But.
Yeah. This is the only thing I can recall right now.
Gotcha.
At least in America, I think it's coming out this Saturday, I believe. This or next Saturday. But yeah, I'm glad that we managed to get Zone Mortalis rules pretty much day one of the official release.
You'll be able to pick this up when you pick up your box, for sure. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. And then especially if those 500-point games, you can just roll right in. Don't even have to worry. And if you're a new player, you can just glue a few just enough models together and start playing. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, quick.
And I love the idea that they're like encouraging 2x2 play. Like that's excellent. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever played that before.
Just get 2 10-man tactical squads and a Centurion and, go to town, baby.
What about Kill Team? What is Kill Team? 4x4?
No, Kill Team is done on a 1.5x2 maybe or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a very tiny board. It's meant to be played on a tabletop.
Yeah,
like
2x2 is
it's
kitchen tabletop.
It's on the new Warhammer scale, which isn't quite 4x6. It's slightly smaller, but it's kind of its own little size.
Of course. Why easy when you can make it hard?
Yeah. A lot of players like it because of the fact that they can like fold up and then just unpack them and typically play them anywhere. Like Mike and I went to Battleground, or we met at Battlegrounds, and we were like, should we want to do a Kill Team? Or we got there to do Kill Team. And it was some sort of Warhammer 40K tournament, so there were no tables. So we were just like, hey, let's grab a Magic the Gathering table. And we played right on there. We were both just sitting down in chairs and getting to play. It was very chill.
Yep, which I can definitely appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be cool if you get that into a Zone Mortalis style.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's so encouraging to see these rules coming back, because I think that's such a huge part of the heresy. So many people love Zone Mortalis, and since its inception and being brought into like Nova, obviously Nova didn't invent it, but it really, I think, kickstarted it out here on the East Coast, where so many more people have tables of Zone Mortalis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely think people love. It's something I need to get into. I can do a 2x2. Easy.
Yeah, that's like the old boards.
Yeah.
Sure, you can find a few of those lying around somewhere.
You're right. Yeah, you could just find a single 2x2 board and be like, "There's my Zone Mortalis."
Ready to go.
Under 500.
Yeah, but no. If I was going to do it, definitely, I'm doing Necromunda Terrain. That stuff is so good. I think the hardest part to find is the floor tiles. Those things we feel like are always sold out somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Although at the end of the day, for a 2x4, or a 2x2, even making your own tiles would be kind of easy to do, I think.
Yeah. You guys remember Ghetto Mortalis, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wake made it out of like old pallets.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay. I think it was before my time.
It was just cut up some old pallets, I think, or something like that.
Pallets and 2x4s. That thing weighed a ton.
Weighed hundreds of pounds because we had enough to make an 8x4 or something like that.
Yeah.
And enough walls and everything like that. And then we finally got that MDF thing, and that was like night and day. MDF was so lightweight. Yeah.
Yeah, and mine's held together fairly well over the years.
But so I'm excited for it. I definitely get my juices flowing.
Yep.
It didn't mention elevators.
No.
It said stairs and ladders, but not elevators.
Well, it says clearly there are no elevators.
I'm looking at a Necromunda elevator right now.
Not anymore.
They lied to us. The elevators aren't real.
They broke all down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would do in a boarding action. I would turn off all the elevators.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
so no, you don't.
There's going to be some fires going around, and you definitely don't use the elevator when there's a fire.
You got to take the stairs.
Yeah. Makes sense.
You must take the stairs.
Safety's our number one priority here in the Heresy.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have anything else before we wrap it up for tonight?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Anything else to shout out?
You know what? We're on the Zone Mortalis kick right now. I guess listeners, if you have any Zone Mortalis tiles or something like that you want to share, definitely send them our way because I know I need that eye candy right now. So
let's see your ZM.
Yeah, I definitely want to see some of that.
I'd like to do a little shout out to a YouTube channel called Smells Like Machine Spirit. It's a Adeptus Titanicus YouTube channel. And they gave us a little shout out, so appreciate it. So send the love back.
Yeah, sick.
Send the love back.
All right, I'm going to there right now.
All right.
Time to subscribe.
And yeah, thanks again, everybody, for listening to the Remembrancers Retreat. And if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to go over to Facebook and Instagram at RR30K Podcast and give us a like, give us a follow, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this podcast. You can join our Discord server. It's really cool place. Everybody's really chill. Yeah, we're going to do some fun stuff here in a little bit, I think. That's my plan anyway.
Yeah, I know I got something coming up at the end of this month, so...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
On the Discord?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. You want to talk about it?
No, well, I mean, just getting the Centurion Christmas started.
Yeah.
Want to give people adequate time to register and that kind of stuff. So it'll probably be like a 2-month registration for that.
Okay.
Start August, September, and then October I'll do drawings, and then December 1-ish is when we'll do the reveal and deliveries and that. So
Christmas comes early this year.
It do be coming early. Yeah.
Cool.
I just know that month is hectic for me. I don't know if it's scheduled, but yeah.
You know how it is. If you'd like to support our program, go over to patreon.com/RR30K podcast. There you can become a patron member where you'll have access to some of our old one-shot episodes, some crazy stuff Austin, Steven, and I did one time where we got drunk and railed on the King of Spain for some reason. I don't remember why we did that.
Because Steven is filled with eternal hate for the King of Spain.
Yeah, it was fun. You also get a private Discord channel, and you also, as a patron member, get your own little Discord channel blog.
Yeah, I was looking through those today. I love looking at those and seeing people's progress on their armies. And it's not just armies. People post all their hobby stuff there. Which
hobby blog.
You know?
A little dedicated spot there. So, become a patron member today. And as always, I'd like to thank all of our patrons, starting with our Legion Praetors, Alex Selth, Captain Sasquatch, Chaplanisar, Chris Mack, Gardner.Tree of Woe, Joe from Music City Heresy, John Smith, Luke Rizzuto, Matthew Boyce, Michael Tisdall, Mr. Baldwick, Nicholas Quenga, Rena the Floof, Sarah Luther, Taco Tuesday Bus 22 Rock and Roll McDonald's, What's Ligma, and Zachary Thompson. Our Legion Centurions Aaron Maynard, Andrew N., Dave Jones, Duncan, M. Tanzer, Gore Crow, Matthew Andriasio, Nick Hilda, Richard Bork, Scott LeMay, The Zoe, and Void Imperatrix. And finally, our Sergeants, Agrippina, Aircraft Terrier, Lefarius, Dale Jones, Emily O'Hare, Garrett Lowe, Jay DeSales, Jonathan Crane, Carl, Nick Gillen, Noah Atkins, and Travis Smith. Thank you all so much for your support. We greatly appreciate it, and thanks for being members of our community.
Thank you so much, guys. And gals, and theys.
Also, there's so many more than before.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, wild.
So until next time, keep those dice rolling. And bye for now.
Toodoo.
Bye.
Heresy 2.0 next week.
Yeah.
Raid Shadow Legends. All right.
What?